If we could see that everything, even tragedy, is a gift in disguise, we would then find the best way to nourish the soul. Over the years, I have learned that every life circumstance, even a crisis, can nourish your soul. Recently, the farm and home that I had loved so much for so many years burned down in a horrible fire. Everything that I owned, without exception, was lost. There was even speculation that foul play was involved. At moments like this, we stand at the fork in the road. If we take the fork most commonly traveled, we collapse. We give up feeling hopeless and defeated. We focus on the negatives, losing ourselves in the problem. We point to our unhappy circumstances to rationalize our negative feelings. This is the easy way out. It takes, after all, very little effort to feel victimized. We can, however, take the other fork. We can view the unhappy experience as an opportunity for a new beginning. We can keep our perspective, look for the growth opportunities, and find an inner reservoir of strength. By simply deciding to see the possibilities rather than the pain, I was able to come through the loss of my home with more strength and contentment than I had before the fire. Viewing the situation in perspective, I realized that most of the things I had collected over my lifetime were, in fact, just things. I didn't need them anymore. No longer tied to my house, I decided to move to Arizona to be closer to my son. I love my new surroundings as much as I did my previous environment. There are trees, coyotes, and too much beauty to describe. Had I taken the fork of despair, I would have remained angry and depressed over the fire, missing a golden opportunity to move west. Looking back, I see that I was too attached to my old environment to make the move on my own. In a sense, I needed the tragedy to push me forward. I don't mean to trivialize the difficulty of certain aspects of life. It is important to look for the larger picture. Only then can we nurture the soul with our experiences. If we could see that everything, even tragedy, is a gift in disguise, we would then find the best way to nourish our soul. Thank you.
Very good.
I'll stand here so people can see. Thank you. Last week we shared with you about a vision we had where the angels were crying tears of blood upon this planet. And it was a very scary vision. And after that scene, there came a white dove blessing humanity, then a rainbow. All of us can interpret it in many, many ways. But this week, more and more, there was more of a revelation. It appeared to be, and it appears to be, that the spirit of the lotus is under attack. And when something is under attack, it's usually because that which attacks the spirit of the lotus, or that which attacks a thing, fears the strength of the thing they are attacking. People have said, maybe not to my face, that the spirit of the lotus, especially the teacher of the spirit of the lotus, is vague, rambles, doesn't get to the point. That we'll be lucky if we have any followers. People have said that the spirit of the lotus, there's no belief system. How are people to understand what the spirit of the lotus is all about? So with weak leadership, weak purpose, weak vision, they say. How can we exist? But we do exist. We know who we are, what the spirit of the lotus is. Just like the great kahuna, Papa Bray, said, you cannot explain what the truth is. To know the truth, you have to be the truth. You have to live the truth. And I'm sure Papa Bray wasn't the only one who said it, but he said this is one of the tenets of being a kahuna. We recall a science teacher, a biology teacher in, I believe I was in 10th grade. And she professed to be an atheist. And she said, scientists, they don't want to go out proving a theory. It's not proving anything. She said, how can you prove something that already exists? And we had to contemplate that. And she said, scientists reveal, there's a revelation, or show that this theory is viable or something exists. Then she went on to say in private, she said, that's why I believe there's no God. Because all these, she said, these Christians are always trying to prove to me that there is a God. She says, if they truly believe that God exists in their soul, in their heart, and if God really exists, they don't have to prove it, because it does exist. And so she went on and on. She said, if they would live it and show, then maybe people would see God, in that God does exist. They don't have to convince people. I learned a lot from her. The Jewish religion. It's a mystery because there's such a community. This one rabbi taught us why they are so misunderstood. Because to understand the Kabbalah, to understand any sect or aspect of the Jewish religion, it's not the religion itself. It's the community. It's a way of life. You have to understand the language, Hebrew. Because in the language, it contains all the keys, all the nuances of the religion. He said when Moses was on Mount Sinai and experienced God, when the heavens was opened up to Moses, where Moses saw God, had such a great revelation. It wasn't just Moses. It was the community of those 600,000 Jews that were following him that experienced this great revelation, this great experience God. So when a Jew, his religion, his community, they cannot experience God without the community. That is why, in theory, he said, because it hasn't happened through history, in theory, they don't put up idols. They don't put up, this person as God. Because in theory, all is God. So how does the Jewish mystic start off experiencing God? By seeing God as himself, that literally we are all created in God's image. So they start to so-called meditate or focus or concentrate on this image, inner image of God. And this inner image starts to break away, fall apart, and they start to merge with the essence until there's no more image. So he said a Jew must learn to walk, be in the community, and see God as he eats, as he converses, as he has his friendships, his loves, washes his body, his teeth, be in the presence of God. And they call this awe. Hawaiians may call it awe. They call this annihilation of the ego. Because once we start doing this, the ego starts getting annihilated. Once we start seeing this is the image of God. And we cannot, he said, start from the top. The Jew has to learn to walk on the ground, eat, so on and so forth, and keep his head in heaven. And that's very difficult to do. And he said that if we start from the top, and he gave examples of 4 rabbis who wanted to learn the mysteries, the hidden mysteries. One rabbi lost his mind, went crazy. The other denied there is a God at the end. Another died very young because he saw heaven. And the fourth became a mystic. There is a lot to learn about this, about ourselves and the annihilation of the ego. The Spirit of the Lotus isn't here to preach and tell you, you have to do this, you have to do that to know God. You just look within. It's planting seeds. We are the sower. We plant seeds, and some seeds will hit fertile ground and some won't. But so be it. This biology teacher who claimed to be an atheist, there was a lot of wisdom. Was she bad for being an atheist? It only made us love her more because she was very practical. Because she said people who are always trying to prove things or scientists, they won't get it. just will miss the boat. That's why she said, not she, but mystics say those who just cling to the literal meaning of what is written in the scriptures, they won't get it. That's why the disciples asked Jesus, why do you speak in parables? They didn't quite get it at the time. The spirit of the lotus has its own language that you need to understand by coming here, participating, merging with it, becoming part of a community of humanity. And that will start unlocking who we are and what we stand for and our purpose and our understanding our vision. Love is the key. Just like doubting Thomas, Jesus said when Thomas touched his wounds, he needed proof. And Jesus blessed his eyes. But Jesus said, thrice blessed is the one who believes without seeing. We share with you visions that we've had and so on, but it doesn't make, maybe I need convincing. That's why we have visions. Who knows? God knows. But thrice blessed is the one who can believe without proof, without seeing. There is a story I think his name is Patrick Ka'anoi. E in Hawaiian is supreme. It's a high. The language in Hawaiian is just like Hebrew. It's not word. It doesn't have a certain description. There's a spirit in every word. Just like aloha. To truly understand aloha, you need to eat the symbol, they say. You need to consume that symbol. To understand the Jews or to understand the Christians, to understand the Muslims, you need to consume that. Eat of it. Aloha. They say, aloha, alo is face, ha is breath. But each letter stands for something. The A, Allah. The Allah is the omniscience of God, the ever-presence, that holy breath that breathed out and there was creation. The L stands for something. The O stands for something. The H stands for humility, ha'a, ha'a, just like lomi, lomi. When there's you say it twice to emphasize its importance. Lomi, lomi isn't just massage. It's a transition of energy. It also means thumb, but it's a transition. You're transitioning, transforming, transfiguring into light. It's going from one form to another. from darkness into light. Ha'aha'a is humility. It's not crawling to God, but that respect, trusting, having faith in the teachings, in God. The final A is patience and perseverance. And then there's three, a trinity in aloha, where God in three persons. There's so much to the meaning of aloha, but it all boils down to love. We teach the Rainbow Bridge. So let us tell you a story that Patrick has told. The o'opu fish, it's a fish, a common fish that's a bottom feeder. And it just like a catfish, it gets its sustenance from the garbage at the bottom of the stream or wherever they live. And they symbolize the eating of the symbol. This o'opu, story of the o'opu fish, lived in this beautiful, beautiful river. And one day, all these fish were so happy. They were all eating at the bottom. Everything was, they wanted for nothing. And one day, a lehua blossom drifted and fell on top of the river. And this one little fish looked at it and asked everyone, where did it come from? And they all said they didn't know. And the wise old fish says, it's best not to know. For the journey of finding out where it comes from is very treacherous, very dangerous. But this one little fish wanted to know. He was so curious where the lehua blossom came from. Where is its source? And so he decided to go find out. He started to swim upstream. And everyone told him, don't go, don't go. You don't know what's out there. You'll get hurt. You might get eaten alive. You'll die. But the little fish said, I have to know where this lehua blossom comes from. So he started his journey. He ate from the bottom of the stream as he swam upstream. And he started to get weaker because there was less and less food. And the water became clearer and clearer. And the currents became rougher and rougher. And he noticed there were no other fish around him. He started to get a little bit nervous. But he said, I have to find the source of where the lehua blossom comes from or where it lives. And as he was swimming upstream, there was no more food at the bottom. He was weak. He started to feel like he was surrendering and becoming lighter and lighter, and one with the stream and one with everything. And he thought he was dying. There was no up, there was no down. It wasn't hot or it wasn't cold. For part of the end of his journey, the stream started getting colder and colder. And then he looked up and he saw the shimmering of a lehua tree. And then a lehua blossom dropped into the stream. And with his last ounce of strength, he reached and he took a bite out of the lehua blossom. And he found himself floating on the currents back down the stream, passing everything that he's seen, and becoming more and more aware of his body. And finally, he found himself back home with his friends and family. And he says, I know now where the lehua blossom. I traveled so far to find out. And his friends and family said, no, you didn't. You were here all the time. And he said, no, I've been gone for days. And then he looked up, and there was a half-eaten lehua blossom. So that's the story of eating the symbol. That's the story of the opu fish. Opu means tummy. That's the story of the spirit of the lotus. There is a lot to it. We cannot tell you who we are. We cannot prove to you who we are. We have to live it, be it. And every single one of us we've all failed in some way, and we've all had our victories. We are human. And God loves all that is human and not human. And God loves each and every living creature as it exists as the only one. This little tiny fish existed in this love of feeling it's the only one. And sometimes we can get caught up in that. The little ego gets in the way. I'm the only one who is suffering. I'm the only one who knows this. I'm the only one who experiences. I'm the only, that's the negative side. So the Jewish community teaches us how to annihilate the ego, how to exist as the only one in a community, experiencing all together as Moses and those 600,000 Jews experienced. As if they're the only one, but they experienced it as one. So we're all on this journey together. And yes, thrice blessed is the one who believes without any proof, without seeing, without having to touch, see, feel, taste, hear. We are all truly blessed.